CSUB being a Hispanic serving institution. And that's one thing I think I've seen over the last 10 years that I think CSUB still has a long way to go with that. But that's one way.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? We're back on another episode of Runner on the Air. And today we got a very special guest right here, and Dr. Olson. Got my boy Steve right there in the building. Dr. Olson, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And feel free to share a bit about yourself.
So I'm the interim director of the Kegley Institute of Ethics here at CSUB. I'm also professor of philosophy and chair of the department, philosophy and religious studies.
Yep. And then how did you get that start here on campus?
So I've been here at CSUB now for 10 years. And I came as, for this professor position in philosophy, and the Kegley Institute of Ethics has been around now for 40 years, since 1986. Wow. And it's, I think, a really, valuable thing for our community, for our campus, for students on our campus. So I got involved with that pretty soon after starting here and doing things for organizing events, bring speakers to campus, or we do things for students. For faculty too.
Right. And then for those of the students who don't know, where is the Kegley?
Yeah, the Kegley Institute of Ethics. This is a good thing to mention because there's two different things. The Kegley family is big at CSUB. So there's the Kegley Center for Student Success, which is for student athletes. And then we're the Kegley Institute of Ethics. Right. So the Kegley Institute of Ethics is right near where we are right now. It's right next to the Writing Resource Center in Administration East.
Okay, nice. And I hear you're from Minnesota.
I am originally from Minnesota,
so
yes.
We're going to talk a little sports here.
What's
some of the
You've
teams
been on the cold. You've been on the cold side.
It's true.
Minneapolis,
I grew up in the cold and
-6 degrees half the time there.
Snowing and everything.
Where you could get school canceled for it just being too cold. There was one day it was like 50 below zero, or wind chill, 50 below zero.
We need that here in Bakersfield.
Yeah, right.
So what's the coldest you've been in?
I mean, that's probably it. It's probably, I know when it's really cold when you walk outside and like your eyelashes freeze.
Oh my God. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So I take it you're, Vikings fan.
I am a Vikings fan,
okay.
Yes.
How are you feeling about their season?
Oh, man, the Vikings. I actually went to the Vikings-Chargers game at SoFi on Thursday last week with my son. And, man, that was my first time going to SoFi. That was not a good game to go to for the Vikings. But we had a good time there. But, they've got a bad quarterback situation right now. We'll see with J.J. McCarthy coming. Right. He's in his second year. But, he needs some time. We'll see how he does now.
Right. And some other sports in Minnesota, are you Twins?
Yeah, definitely. That was my team growing up. So I grew up when the Twins were actually good. Kirby Puckett was my childhood hero. They won the World Series twice when I was a kid. Yeah. And I was, and they haven't made it back to the World Series since then. But yeah, that was my team.
And then we actually did an NBA episode right here a few weeks ago. And some of the guys said the T-Wolves are going to the game. Is that true?
Ant-Man is great.
How do you feel about that?
So I went to a Dodger party on Friday, actually, with some friends for the first game of the World Series, and that was fun to go with them. And then after that, the game ended, and it was the T-Wolves against the Lakers. We started watching, and I'm watching with some fans. They're like, "Can't stand Ant-Man." I'm like, "Oh man, Anthony Edwards is great. I love him." Yeah, so no, we'll see. He's great, and see how far they take him this year. They made it. Western Conference Finals last couple of years. We'll see if they can take the next step.
So you've done some articles in the past few years talking about the difference between a fair weather fan or just a flat out bandwagon. Yeah. And that was the first time I've heard the term fair weather fan. So for those of you who don't know, please explain, what is a fair weather fan?
Yeah. So this article I did is a fun thing to be able to do as a professor, to be able to write about stuff, being a sports fan myself. So we wrote about kind of the ethics of being a sports fan. And it was a few friends of mine from graduate school. We all sports fans. We played intramural soccer together, other things. And so that was cool to be able to do these couple of articles. And one thing, people talk about a fair weather fan as someone being one who just, kind of changes their loyalty depending on who is doing well.
I'm guilty on that.
Yeah, I know you're in that boat.
Or like someone on the bandwagon just jumps on if it's, if their team is really doing well. But we try to distinguish that a little bit and say there might be other reasons why people might change their loyalties or things. And that might not always be a bad thing. Like, this party I went to on Friday for the Dodgers, they titled their party like "Buying Our Championship," for the Dodgers party.
Oh my gosh.
They're like diehard Dodgers fans. So, I mean, it was a joke with it. But, you know, one of the things we talked about in this article that we wrote, the friends of mine and I, were about, you know, like ultimately they're like huge, essentially like corporations at this point, like professional sports teams. Yeah. And sometimes you're not always going to support, or, you know, you turn out the ownership is not people you really want to support. Right. And I don't think it's always a bad thing for people to like say that maybe this isn't the right team for me anymore, or find someone that more aligns with my values.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah. So I guess I could put myself on the ice here. I started as a Packers fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Aaron Rodgers.
Right. I'm glad that you switched from the Packers being a Vikings fan.
Yep. And then lately I've been taking liking Patrick Mahomes and everything he's doing. Yeah. So am I considered a fair weather fan or a bandwagon?
Well, I mean, I would say so what are your reasons for what do you like about Patrick Mahomes?
I like how he came in right away and made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually read in your article, you know, with the Mahomes Foundation.
Yeah.
So off the field too, you know, he's making, you know, pretty big changes. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about when we're talking about like someone who sees like, okay, there's an athlete or there's a team I want to support. And I don't know your reasons supporting the Packers before, but if you find that, you know, you have reasons that are good reasons, and I don't think that's a problem really to switch loyalties in that way.
Yeah, that's Steve.
Oh, I'm not switching.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now.
Yep. And you're like,
my family would kill me.
Yeah. He's diehard Pittsburgh. So
yes. Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in your, you know, like from what you've seen, like how often do you see people switch or make that switch?
I mean, not that frequently, but there are some people who switch, and, you know, there can be different reasons why people support teams. Like for me, I'm still a Minnesota team, Minnesota sports, like, and I don't see myself switching that, but it's also a way for me. I live in California and like I stay in contact with family that are Minnesota, and I go back and see family, and we'll go to a game or something. So you think about different reasons that people have to maintain a loyalty or switch it. So I don't know. There are some people that switch a lot, and then you're like, okay, now really, like, why are you doing that? Or you're just showing up. You don't really know you're showing up to the party. You don't really know anything about what's going on, and then you know you can get some justified criticism for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question I've had on my mind for the last couple of weeks. Are you really a fan of that team if you're not criticizing them and looking for change, especially if they're not doing well?
Yeah, that's so the Twins, man, this year they like sold off half their team at the trading deadline, and they're one with their ownership too. You're like, what's going on? They seem like they're just trying to save money, and you know, I do feel like that's the case. I mean, it's like in some ways it's like a family member or someone where you see if they're doing something and you want to try to correct them. But, you know, I'm laughing because with the sports team, obviously you can like scream at the television or other things, but they're not listening to you, or you can try to like send in something to the team. But, you know, if you don't have $1 billion, you're not really influencing what they're doing. I mean, you can decide whether you're going to go to the game or not or things, but yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big part of being a fan, is being able to criticize your team. But you got to know, I think, if it comes from a place where you're supporting the team, then people will, I think, you know, generally be supportive of that.
Constructive criticism, yeah. And then in terms of, you know, ethics in sports, with, like you said, like these are corporations.
Yeah.
How have you seen that play out? Because we see, like you said, buying a championship or, you know, spending money on these players, and, you know, how do you see that play out? Yeah,
you know, I mean, that's been part of sports forever, really. Like as long as we've had professional sports, even as long as we've had like student athletes, there's always been people that are, you know, boosters or things that are like ones that want to say, hey, why don't you come play for our team? Or even like with youth sports. So I have 2 kids. They're, you know, actually both their birthdays are coming up this week. It'll be 13 and 10.
Happy birthday, guys.
Yes.
There you go.
And they, you know, even like in youth sports, you'll see like they'll try to recruit people to like traveling teams and other things. And it's like, you know, so it's always been, I think, the case like that. So I don't know, but it definitely, you wonder about, okay, what are we really doing here in some cases? Like how much is it about really wanting to do well, and how much is it about, you know, just the money behind it.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned college sports. My next question was NIL.
Yeah.
How, you know, with ethics involved, how do you see that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as someone who's a sports fan and someone, when this happened, of thinking about trying to like fairly compensate student athletes, I felt like that was something that personally I was on board with. I felt like, okay, that especially in the really big money conferences and things, they're making a lot of money, and coaches are getting paid millions of dollars, and you are getting, I don't discount that. I'm a professor, that you're getting like free college tuition for that, which is important for people's careers or their future life that they're doing. So, but at the same time, I felt like there is a way in which that's exploitative of some student athletes. So I felt like we needed to I thought it was a good thing to make some changes, but then it's really gone so far with this that it's hard to maintain some integrity of the sport, I think.
Yeah, there's some
How do you feel about the transfer portal? Yeah. Just because it changes, like if you have a bad season and you don't want to stick around, you transfer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, in some ways I feel similarly that, they were talking about, okay, well, let's look at what coaches get. Coaches can get paid this amount. Coaches can just switch if they want. They get a better offer, they go somewhere else. So how come athletes can't do the same thing? How come they can't if they decide they want to go somewhere else? Right. But then again, so I think the idea of the transfer portal is a good one, but I think you have to be able to put some limitations on that. Like I heard an example of someone that went to get some team and they weren't, getting the NIL that they thought they were going to get, or they weren't getting the playing time, and then they just stopped 2 games into the season or something like that. Like I want out of this. Yeah. And what does that do to your team if you've got players?
We have a specific example here with AJ Ferrari, who was supposed to go to North Carolina. North Carolina didn't give him his NIL, and he transferred to Nebraska.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that.
He'll be wrestling at Nebraska this year.
Yeah.
So I feel like money definitely plays a factor. In this day and age. But real quick before we transition, I had some quick questions for you. Favorite sport?
Favorite sport? Baseball.
Baseball, okay. Favorite sports memory?
Sorry?
Favorite sports memory?
Favorite sports memory. So
you got a few of them. You could throw in the Minneapolis Miracle. You could throw in
that is good with the Vikings and Stephon Diggs, man. He's still I go back to when I was a kid. That was the first thing when I was in second grade and the Twins won the World Series the first time. So that was it for me. And I remember we reenacted it on the playground.
That's fire.
That's
was amazing.
Fun.
So,
yeah. All right. And then favorite player from Minnesota?
Yeah, man, Kirby Puckett was still the one. Although Kevin Garnett also.
Ooh,
okay.
KG. Okay, yeah, there we go. Real Minnesota guy right here. There we go. Now, I hear you got an event coming up, November 5th.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
So the Kegley Institute of Ethics, we always bring speakers to campus, ones for students, for our community. So coming up, we have our fall lecture, which is our big event for the fall, on November 5th at 6 o'clock in the Doré Theater right over here. Free, open to the public. We have B.D. Wong coming. So those of you know, he's an actor. He's been in he's psychologist, psychiatrist in Law and Order SVU, where he's been in that.
Wow,
That's
okay.
cool. And he's been scientist on Jurassic Park, and he's been in a lot of different things. And so he's coming to talk some about his career. He's an Asian American gay man, and he's thinking about representation and why it's important for us to think about seeing different people in different roles, and why sometimes we have stereotypes no matter what it is, whether it's sports or something you expect a certain person to be a certain way, and why it's important to be able to see people in the kind of complicated people we are.
Right. And then I like the word you use, representation, especially in this day and age. How important is that in the society we live in?
I think it's really important. I think for people, important for different reasons. One thing, people talk about sometimes is if you see it, you can be it, or if you think about that, that the ways that you think, I have kids, and you think about who their role models are and who they look up to, and I think representation is one way that people start to see the possibilities that are out there for people.
Right.
Absolutely.
And was there anyone you looked up to, maybe at a young age, that, like you said, if you could see it, you could be it?
Yeah, well, Kirby Puckett, but it turned out I wasn't a good center fielder, actually, but, not that good anyway. But no, actually, so I am one that a role model for me when I was a kid was my grandfather, who was a professor. Awesome. So, sometimes that when you have someone like that, and then I don't think I would be a professor if not for having seen someone, and not everyone has that, so we think about, and at CSUB, one of the things I love about CSUB is that we have students from all different kind of backgrounds. We have so many first-generation college students, and I think sometimes students need to see that they need to see the different possibilities out there for them, so they can see what they can do in their future.
Right, and how have you seen the campus grow in that aspect? Because you said, it is very diverse. Yeah. I feel like it's even going to get more diverse in the future. So throughout the years, how have you seen that grow?
I think, so I've been here for 10 years, and one thing last fall, so we try to do some different things with the Kegley Institute. So in Hispanic Heritage Month last fall, or Latinx Heritage Month, we did a thing about CSUB being a Hispanic serving institution. And that's one thing I think I've seen over the last 10 years that I think CSUB still has a long way to go with that. But that's one way in which I feel like they're understanding better about representation. We just have a new Black Student Success Center that opened up last year, which I thought that was a milestone, named after a great leader on our campus, Dr. Thomas Wallace, who's now retired.
Oh, nice.
And that is a great space for students too. I think there's lots of different ways in which we can see that CSUB is growing in that way.
Right. And then, we've talked about here on campus, but in our whole Bakersfield community, how can CSUB kind of extend that hand of, letting people be comfortable in their own skin? And like you said, if you can see it, you can be it. I like that. If you can see, you can be it.
Yeah. I think that's something that we all can do. I mean, I think we're all ambassadors for CSUB, but that's really, I think, what CSUB is about, is being a place. And I think college is about. One thing that I love about being in education is that, people that come to college, you don't have to go to college. You come to college because you want to do something.
You want to better yourself.
You want to better yourself. You want to see what that can take you to the next step in your life. So I think we need to keep saying to our community, we are the place where you can come do that. We're Kern County's university, and a place where you can transform and build on, the skills that you have and develop them even more.
Right. Dr. Olson, you've been amazing. This has been great.
This is great. Thank you so much.
But real quick before you go, just, a little bit of advice to people that are watching, that are, like you said, maybe they need someone that they can see and get that inspiration from. Yeah. What would you say to those people aspiring, for big goals in the future?
Yeah. So, I think, if you're at CSUB, I tell people all the time, go to class, but reach out to people, make some connections. Right. There's so many resources on campus, whether it's coming to do something with the runner, you all are doing. That's ways in which, we've seen that before too. The people use different things outside the classroom to move ahead and find out what they're passionate about and what they want to do with their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. This was Dr. Olson right here. Hey, Steve, great guest.
Great guest.
Great guest. Thank you guys. Listen, if you guys want to be in this chair, go to the Instagram. Click the link in the bio, sign up the form. We'll get right back to you. But in the meantime, follow, subscribe, share, comment, like, all the above. And we see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.
Deuces.